Dexter, proving to be the ultimate serial killer. Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't go away, which is a good thing. We like that. Anyway, Dexter Resurrection, obviously, the series that just recently ended. I'm going to talk about season one here. Before I read the IMDb plot, I would just say, if you've not, maybe seen the previous series or seen this one yet, I'm not going to be spoiler free. I really want to, I like to, but it's really hard to talk about, referencing, stuff in the past and what happens here without kind of spoiling things. So, I guess that's your spoiler alert. That's your warning. Really not going to be. So if you haven't seen it yet, or even some of the other series, you may not, want to see, what I'm going to say here. Even with the IMDb plot here, kind of gives away some of the stuff that's happened in the previous series. If you've not watched that. So with that, here we go. Dexter Morgan awakes from a coma and sets out for New York City, determined to find Harrison and make things right. When Miami Metro's Angel Batista arrives with questions, Dexter realizes the past is catching up to him fast. Yeah, so obviously, like I said, the series just recently ended. I'm really a huge fan of Dexter. Love it. Love that it's back. Love that we had, some of these other things. New Blood was a little iffy for me. I liked Original Sin. Believe I did reviews for those. So you can check those out. A little sad that I guess they changed their mind. It looked like they were going to do Original Sin, season 2, but now they're not as of the time I'm filming this. But I don't know that door is closed. I'm not going to believe that it's 100% closed. I think they've kind of really invested in Dexter, and I don't know. It seems weird that they do that. It seemed like it was off to a decent start, and gave you some interesting stuff and interesting background in Dexter. I don't know why they would just kind of cut it like that. But whatever. I guess there's only so much Dexter in the budget, and I guess they're gonna go forward with this. Hopefully. Anyway, Dexter survives. I obviously the season premiere was an excellent episode. For several reasons. Obviously, Dexter's alive. Great news. Yeah, a decent explanation to why he was alive and so forth. Obviously, you have Batista there showing up and definitely giving you some suspense. And oh my God, what's he there for? Is he going to finally catch Dexter? Kind of start here. But probably the best thing about the episode was definitely kind of those flashbacks that Dexter was having. While he was kind of sleeping there in his recovery, where we got to see a bunch of familiar faces. And obviously, if you're a big fan of Dexter, it was kind of a great way to kind of start and get things off and, kind of revisit some of these characters in a way to kind of bring them back. And obviously, many of them are dead, so, they can't be back in real life. But to still have them back in some way, some form, because we know Dexter likes talking to people who are not alive. But yeah, that was some really fun stuff and great way to kind of kick things off. A couple of things, I didn't really want to see the trailer, but I eventually did, and so that kind of gave me some things to kind of think about going into the season. Obviously, definitely was excited, like I said, to have Angel back, and obviously he plays a big part of the season, chasing Dexter, trying to prove that Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher, and he's almost desperately, wants that kind of answered, for, good reason. Then, I guess the other thing that I really wasn't sure about was this whole Dexter being kind of pulled into this serial killer club thing. That seemed a little bizarre and a little out of his realm, kind of putting him in kind of a social environment, even though they are like him. Social environments aren't exactly, his strong point. He's always has to kind of think and whatever. But I guess when he can kind of be himself or kind of be a serial killer, I guess, it kind of was okay. But definitely was intrigued by that and how in the hell he would find himself in that situation. But I thought, the writing, a lot of the writing for that was pretty brilliant. I mean, kind of coming up with a killer who takes the Dark Passenger name, which Dexter wasn't going to stand for. Dexter was like, hell no. Anybody who uses that name is going to die. And long and behold, they die. And then he really gets to kind of be the Dark Passenger and have these other people kind of refer to him as the Dark Passenger. So you knew that was kind of amusing and fun for him and so forth. And definitely kind of fun for the audience to see him actually called that as opposed to the Bay Harbor Butcher. But then, as they kind of go down that road and, they present some familiar faces as far as actors to play these serial killers, which was a good thing. Kind of interesting that some of them actually had chances to be on Dexter, I guess, back in the day, but didn't. But now are. So that was kind of interesting to kind of find out in the background information. I think, was it Neil Harris Patrick was the first one he killed. And I don't know, I guess of all of those, I really wasn't buying his serial killerness. So I'm glad they kind of killed him first. I don't know. I don't know if it was him, the role he was playing, whatever. I don't know, but he needed to go, and I'm glad he was dead, number one. Obviously, Dexter kind of falling in with the girl, you kind of knew that wasn't going to work. And she was an interesting character in herself, and definitely, when you finally get a chance to kind of see her kill, you kind of wish you would have gotten to see her kill before, what happened. The Gemini thing, what a twist that was. That was a great twist within, the whole story here. And obviously the one who got away, you would have thought that he would have been maybe second. And he wasn't going to get away, but he did. And I just have a feeling that, if season 2 comes along, I could see season 2 kind of opening with Dexter kind of closing that loop and ending him. I don't see Dexter wanting to leave him out in the world, but you never know. Maybe that is something for maybe even further down the road. But then the whole Prater thing, and with him and Uma Thurman playing his bodyguard, two great roles there, two great actresses there. And then, you have Dexter there. The three of them, it just worked so well, especially when you got to the later on episodes and, things kind of started to unravel for Dexter and people started really finding out who's who and what's going on here. Interesting stuff and really, cool stuff and really great acting. Great acting overall, I mean, with everybody. Everybody who cast and everybody in their role, even, having Angel back and he just fit right into those shoes. And even the new cop and 2 cops that we get, the 2 detectives, interesting pairing there. Really nothing to complain acting wise. So great overall. But, I think, even, what the craziness of Dexter walking into a room of serial killer memorabilia and seeing his own stuff there, like you would have never thought Dexter would have ended up in that kind of situation, or anybody would have, if the serial killer kind of ends up in that kind of situation. But also kind of tease back to some of the stuff that we've seen from Dexter, especially, John Wayne Gacy in the clown costume, if I got that right. And we had seen that previously with Dexter, and I think it was his dreams or whatever. Just kind of a lot of kind of pieces that if you're a Dexter fan and Dexter universe kind of really come together, and it was kind of interesting stuff there. So I think that while I had, my concerns or was kind of curious, I think, they really pulled that off really well. And, it was a really good thing in the end. And really did some really strong story and stuff with everybody and Dexter's relationships with each of them. And like I said, the twist of the Gemini and so forth was just really good stuff. And, the way it all ended, you know, as the audience, you kind of knew it was gonna kind of end in that direction, um, but just kind of leading there and getting there and just waiting for it was a good, fun thing. Um, Again, sad what happens to Batista. Again, maybe didn't play out the way you kind of thought it was, and I'm in a way I think you're glad that it kind of maybe played out that way as opposed to a different way in Dexter's way. Um, but sad, yeah, that was a little bit hurting and sad. But I think it was inevitable that it was going to end that way. He just couldn't go home. Dexter tells him go home, and he just couldn't let it go. And he almost spoiled everything for Dexter. So it's just what it is. Um, and then I think the one part the one part of Dexter that I guess I'm still having trouble with is Harrison. I understand it's important to have him. It's important to Dexter. Harrison was always an important part of his life, even in the early episodes. Obviously Harrison as a child, obviously important to have him along. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just the character. I don't know if it's the actor. Is I guess the one thing that I guess I'm not totally sold on, even in what was it, New Blood, and then this, like I don't know, like there are times obviously there are times in it that the show is following him and what he's doing, and especially in the first couple of episodes, it's he takes up a lot of time in the episodes, and I don't know, like obviously there's some interesting stuff, especially if he's gonna kind of go down this good guy route, but I don't know, like I don't know that I'm truly into it, truly buying it for whatever reason. I just very suspect on that. Obviously, again, important to have him along and with Dexter, and obviously the way things ended in the season and the suspense there. But I don't know. So if I'm really going to complain about anything, I guess it's Harrison. I don't know. But yeah, I think I was really pleased with the way everything was done. I thought the writing was fantastic. I thought, Michael C. Hall was Michael C. Hall, and shout out to him, fellow cancer survivor. Love that he's able and back and able to do Dexter again, after all this time, and he's he is the character. I mean, there's just no Dexter without him, and to see him with so many other great actors in this, it's a great thing, and hopefully they do a season 2. I think they are going to. It seemed like they're going to. And definitely interested to see, where Dexter goes. I would say kind of the closing end scene, it kind of just left the world open to, what's next. They really didn't tease, anything hugely specific with what could come and what could happen. So I guess that's kind of interesting in itself as well. You don't know, but I welcome it. Like I said, hopefully they bring back Original Sin and change their minds. And I'm glad that we're living again in a Dexter world, and we have more of it to come. And we'll see. He survived the serial killers. Who or what is going to end Dexter, I don't know. Again, proving to be the ultimate serial killer, I guess. Maybe that will be the title of the next one. I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna give this one 4 pools of blood. Just really good stuff. Really enjoyed it. Wish they would do more than 10 episodes, but I guess they fit everything in. And yeah, that's 4 pools of blood out of 5, and more pools of blood for Dexter. Let's do it. Really, really, really happy with this one, and definitely better than New Blood, and so forth. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. I tried to keep it short and not ramble on about all the excitement of Dexter. Miss Deb, I wish that was a character we could have back, but it is what it is. There's a lot of characters you wish you could have back in Dexter, but I'm not so lucky. But yeah, so we'll leave it at that. So with that, horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all my reviews written in video. Certainly tons of video reviews, so you can like and subscribe and do everything else that everybody does here on YouTube. If not, no worries. I thank you for your time regardless. Twitter, Facebook information down below. Feel free to follow there. Talk horror, talk Dexter, anytime. That's fine with me. And definitely in the comments section, once you guys kind of catch it, hopefully you have caught it, because if not, I ruined everything for you. Feel free to share your thoughts and what you enjoyed from this, or maybe what you want more from Dexter. So with that, I'll catch you in the next review, horror fans.